All right, golf fans, welcome back to another episode of Fairways and Dreams. I am your host, Jeff Hartman, and this is time for another Two-Man Scramble podcast where I bring on a guest. And this time I have someone who I really just connected with on Instagram, Bud Copeland, joins me. I'm going to read the bio, though, because he sent me a bio, and I'm going to read the bio because I feel like I have to now. And so here's Bud's bio for, as he says, an author from a golf magazine site he used to write for. He's a self-taught stick with a hack brain. Bud grew up playing golf year-round in North Florida. Born again in New England, Bud now lives in Salem, Massachusetts with his wife, daughter, cat, and dog, Miller. He is the sole Y chromosome in the house, believes we did land on the moon, and strongly advocates for walk-up music on the 1st and 18th tees. Bud, welcome to the show. How are you?
Phenomenal, Jeff. I appreciate that. That's actually the first time I've heard that read out loud to me, and it's just as ridiculous as I intended it to be. But I sincerely appreciate you airing that out there.
Well, I will say this, I'm a father of 5, and yeah, I know. And I have 1 son and 4 daughters. So the Y chromosome thing, I get it. My son
Ooh, I grew up with 2 older sisters, and I always said that, I was put on this earth to have a daughter, but 4.
Yeah.
Blessing on your home, my man, and,
We need all the blessings we can get, man.
and a blessing that roommate of yours who I'm sure does a lot of the lifting as well.
She does a lot of heavy lifting. That is for sure. So, but I want to give you an opportunity to tell everyone we connected actually because I've obviously had Nate Hearn, who's the founder of Acorn Hills. You have the sticker there right there on your microphone. And you are an affiliate with them. I might be affiliating with them starting in the new year. And so, but still, maybe we'll see. But go ahead and give a little background for those that might not know who you are and what you do.
My name is Bud Copeland at This Bud's For You. I'm just a golf guy. Honestly, I got hooked up with Acorn Hills through social media as well. If you're hearing this and you're not following yet, go over to the at This Bud's For You on Instagram. Give it a follow. Make sure you include the E in there. Fun fact: Anheuser-Busch copyrighted but This Bud's For You back in like 1982. So I kind of claim, I think it was June or July of 82, and I claimed that they saw me coming in October and they just wanted to snatch that up because they had the foresight of where this was going. No, actually, golf has been in my life, really as long as I can remember. I've got pictures somewhere of me at TPC Sawgrass at 3 years old in a stroller because my family was in Jacksonville at the time, and we joined early. And so I just kind of grew up in a golf house, and I didn't really pick it up until my teenage years. I was a baseball player primarily before that. So I had the hand-eye coordination thing down, but my family moved a little bit when I was growing up. And after 6th grade, I was in a new town. I had no friends, but I was fortunate enough to live in a golf community. So I just was watching it on TV, and my dad was a huge golfer. He was never anything more than maybe a 18 handicap at best. But he just loved the game because, the world of business that he was in, he did a lot of golfing for, back in the 80s too, as well. A lot of business done on the golf course. So growing up in that kind of house, I just picked it up and I wanted to go try it out. My sister was a competitive tennis player. She played at West Virginia University for a year. My other sister was an all-state soccer player, and they won the state championship their senior year. So we came from a competitive kind of house, and I picked up on golf and I just fell in love with it. And I think it's because I'm a glutton for punishment. I had nothing but time on my hands. And so this idea of trying to hit a target over and over and over and over, and then you get it, and then you don't get it again. And there's that weird kind of frustration in there of like, but now I want it back. I took the hit and I took the ride and I want to do it again. And it's not that easy every time. So something spoke to me. I played it a little bit growing up in my middle school years, but baseball was my first sport. So I couldn't really play competitively till my senior year in high school. At which point, scratch golfer at the time. I was good enough to do what I needed to do. I think I wrote in there, fun fact, when I was a senior in high school, the 8th grader on my team was Hudson Swafford, former LIV guy, former PGA Tour pro, multiple time winner, went to UGA as well. But I fell in love with the game and had some pretty unique opportunities growing up in Jacksonville to experience Sawgrass through the years. And so that's kind of, for me, you talk to folks and they might have a club or a course or an experience that sticks out to them. Obviously the folks live in Augusta. They've got what they've got right there. The people in North Carolina got Pinehurst, and you can go around the country and do that. For us in the Southeast, it was Jacksonville and TPC Sawgrass. And so being fortunate enough to kind of grow up around that area, go back and play the course a bunch. Golf was always part of my identity. And then in the college years, I just fell away from it. I wasn't playing competitively. And a teacher friend of mine in my 20s reminded me that I knew how to play once. And so I picked it back up. And then obviously in the last 5, 6, 7 years, with the absolute social media has been around a lot longer than that. And obviously the internet way before that. But the last 5-6 years, just this explosion of the golf presence on social media has done a couple of things. And it's been a wild ride. And it's been a lot of fun. First of all, it has exposed it to a lot of people who probably never thought for a million. You think about the guys, those jokers at like a country club adjacent. They talk about how their whole spiel, they're changing the game. You're not changing the game. You've just discovered this wonderful game and what it can do for you. You like to make people laugh. You like to bust their balls. Hey, we've been doing that for centuries on the golf course. So come on board. It's lovely to have you. But in the last 5 or 6 years, I really just kind of decided a couple of things. I had a family, was getting started with that. So where do I want to put my time? Where do I want to put my energy? I'm a wonk for knowledge. I'm an academic at heart. And I just decided to dive headfirst again once into this game. And so it's been a fun ride. And I appreciate you reaching out because kind of similar scenario here. You realize that this golf is for everyone. And I love what you said this kind of topic is going to be in a minute. I'm not going to get ahead of it. But when you said that, I smiled and smirked because I have a bone to pick with many a talking heads out there. And just the approach. So when you sent that topic, I was like, this is perfect. I've been screaming at the rain about this for months now. So thank you very much for letting me join. I know that was a crash course through the history of Boudreaux, but hey, stick around. We'll learn more. I'm like an onion. Every time we peel a layer back, something else shows up.
There you go. That's like Shrek. Anyways, it's one of those things where for me, you and I have a very similar past. You're a much better golfer than I am. I've never been close to a scratch golfer, but having the baseball background, there was nothing more frustrating than going from baseball where it's a moving object. People are screaming, yelling, trying to get you out. And then you have a stationary object and you just cannot hit it in the same spot more than once in a row. It's super frustrating, but that's what also makes it great. You can't perfect this game. It is imperfect in every stretch of the word. And the striving for perfection, even though it's unattainable, is what keeps people coming back because it only takes that one shot. Give me that one flush driver. Give me that one flush 7-iron. And you're going to say, gosh darn it, if I could do that every time, it'd be great.
I'll take a sexy, smooth 75-yard sand wedge, like a three-quarter sand wedge to 3 feet. Well, was it Tin Cup? He says tempo is everything, perfection unattainable, and that's the honest to God truth. And I love that you have the baseball background too, because in baseball, this is speaking as amateur golfers. Obviously, you get to the elite levels, and those guys are dialed in, and they better be hitting 9.9 out of 10 times. But for guys like you and me, you come from the world of baseball where 300, 400, so 30%, 40% success rate. That's legendary. That's Hall of Fame.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now if I told you, and I don't know how good, but most people, it's like, hey, if I gave you just flat out 40% fairways on your next round, would you take it? Absolutely. Almost half. Look at your stats, folks. Be a little honest with yourself. You're not out there as much as you think you are, and that's where you need to start. But the consistency of it, coming from anything, and I think that's why other athletes are drawn to golf. A lot of tennis players, you go right up and down. Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell were famously, loved the game of golf. They had to have specialized clubs. Speaking, one of them I think is gone. Bill Russell passed away recently.
Yes.
Is Wilt still with us?
I think he is.
How? Anyways, they get it too. And they've perfected this, but then they come over to this thing and it's not perfectible. And even Tiger will tell you he's not perfect. Obviously he's not perfect. Otherwise he'd have more trophies. And so this thing that is always evolving and changing, and it's not uniform. And that's the beauty of it. It's not the same, yet it is growing and it is becoming way more accessible than it ever has been in multiple facets. And so I think there is something unifying about golf being that singular thread. I think pickleball is kind of growing into that void for humanity, for maybe the non-golfers out there, but it's becoming that thing that almost everybody can do. You look around, and difference being pickleball, we go in my backyard and do it, but we can't really play a full round of golf, but you recognize the different areas of golf and how, top golf, the chip and putt places that are pop stroke. Indoor golf is exploding, especially here in the Northeast. So it's a game that is beautiful in so many ways. And when you think about it, we're just a bunch of sadists and gluttons. All we want, we're just punishing ourselves and hoping that one of it strikes a chord, that feels good.
And you talk about like the seeking the perfect swing, the perfect game, or whatever. Even Tiger Woods at his best was changing his swing like dramatically. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Like, you're the best golfer in the world, and yet you read books like by Hank Haney, and he's trying to make all the adjustments constantly. You're never happy. Your golfers are never happy.
No, and I actually, that's a great story with Tiger. If you haven't heard about it, look it up. And Butch Harmon tells it from some ways, and about what you're talking about after the '97 Masters, where he had just come on the stage,
Yeah.
cleaned everybody's clock. Here I am, world. And all he could say was like, "That's not. I need to tweak this." And so he found a shot. It's like a 3/4 9-iron on number 11 from the '97 Masters, and it's the second or third round. And he went back and he pulled that footage and he showed it to Butch, and he's like, "That's the swing. That's what I want to get to for everything." Now he has done several overhauls and tweaks of his swing since then. But to your point, guy had just hit the pinnacle, and immediately all he's thinking is, what can I improve? You hear about Urban Meyer after he wins the 2004, national title. They're in the locker room. Everybody's celebrating. He had just won the BCS national championship, or I think it was '06. He had just beat Ohio State national stage. He's on the phone with recruits already. He's already moved on. So there, anybody who's at that level, that elite level, it's a different mentality. And Tom Brady talks about it's their identity. I say that golf is part of my identity. No, golf is the other side of my coin. I'm a family guy. I've got I've got a job. I have other things in my life. This is my passion, and it has become overwhelmingly kind of a more of an obsession, because you learn more about the game. But to be at that level, that's why they're drawn to it. I've done it over here. This looks easy. The ball's not even moving. And you mean to tell me I can just do it over and over and over, as many tries as I want? Yeah, keep going. Because even after a hole in one, you're not going to make the next one.
No, you're right. So let's talk about Tiger Woods. Bring up the professional game. That's what we want to talk about today. The state of professional golf. I've had this conversation with a lot of people. You just mentioned it yourself. I feel like the state of golf is tremendous. Like right now, like everyone, there's more and more people getting involved. They're being in, I don't even care if it started with Wii Golf. Like there are people that are getting introduced to the game in different and unique ways. But then I look at the professional game and I hear people saying, you know what? I'm growing sick of it. I'm growing tired of it, whether it's their hatred for LIV, whether it's their disdain for the complaining about purses and guaranteed money. It could be any number of things. You could bring in the Saudis and the PIF and all that stuff that's going on. That's why I wanted to talk with you, because you talk about this in your little daily monologues on your Instagram feed, a lot about the professional game, and you probably know better than I do. The state of professional golf seems like it's in flux right now. It used to be great, like the good old days where everyone was on the PGA Tour and everyone was out there competing every weekend. It is not that anymore. So let me ask you, what is the state of professional golf? Is it in a good place in your opinion?
Phenomenal. It is overwhelmingly in a good place.
Really? Okay.
Because, and this has been my spiel on. I'll give you my quick cup of coffee on LIV. Not even cup of coffee. This is gonna be a shooter, an espresso.
Got it.
LIV, and from the very beginning, what I've said is it's exhibition golf. It's glorified exhibition golf. When they were here outside of Boston and Bolton, we went out, we got to experience it firsthand. Me and my co-host of Divots and Pivots on YouTube, we went out there, we got to rub elbows with people. The country club adjacent guys were there. The pros were very accessible. It was fun. If any of them looked at me and, or if they gave an answer about, where LIV crosses the line for me is when they try to act as if they deserve the gravitas that the PGA Tour has built up over generations. There's a thing where Cam Smith, DJ, Phil, I think they all thought that because they were in the spotlight, they were the shine. And now all of a sudden they go over here and they've got boatloads of money. They're fun. I mean, listen, it's fun. It's fun to go out there and watch it. It bothers me, like when they try to present it as if this is the future of golf over. Maybe it is. The formats can always change. I wouldn't be shocked if in our lifetime a 54-hole league jumped up, because you look at a sport like cricket that's been around for God knows how long. And all of a sudden in the last 20, 30 years, the cricket 20, like this kind of snap 2-hour matches, have exploded, when the traditionalists were saying that's no way to play cricket. You have to do, you have to be out there for 4 days and people have to be dying of heat stroke. There's a similar element to that in the PGA Tour LIV dynamic. But as long as LIV stays in their lane, Freddie Couples was, I love how snarky he put it recently, where he's talking about, wait a minute, if LIV is so great, then I want to see somebody out there. I want to see Christo Lamprecht, the 6'8" South African guy who can hit it 418 yards. I want to see him say, oh, I'm going to LIV. That's where it's at. Not with a $500 million signing bonus. I want to see him just say, I want to take my hand, and once I win and prove myself, then. So it's not an actual thing. It's not a head-to-head competitor with the PGA Tour. It is the Harlem Globetrotters being able to say to LeBron James, hey, you want to grind it out over there for another 3 years, or you want to come over here and make 5 times as much money, have way more fun, less competition for the next 5. You've already got so it's easy for those guys. Now, the amateurs or even the young guns chasing those live spots at like LIV Golf promotions recently, I don't blame them either. I don't blame Andy Ogletree for taking the bag. I don't blame James Pyatt for taking the bag, because for them, we're fans. We have this weird, heart equity over these leagues and our teams. But the beauty of golf is John Rahm went to LIV Golf. Okay, good for him. $500 million. But I agree with Freddie. Don't tell me it's for a better product.
Yeah.
Oh, the product all of a sudden improved. They're not. And when John says, oh, I'm really excited about the innovative growth, bullshit, buddy. We got the receipts. We saw what you said. Pardon me with the language, by the way. I don't know what kind of audio you have.
You're fine.
We've got the receipts. We saw what you said previously. So just put on your cute little jacket, which I love that move. I think that was a great flex. Put on your jacket, cash your check, talk like Brooksy did about generational wealth, and people can identify with that. And we'll see at the majors. It's become this kind of raffle for the experienced guys. Cam Smith wins a couple majors, cash it in. It's that quarterback who comes in and only plays 5 games in Jimmy Garoppolo, 5 games in a season, and then all of a sudden gets a fat contract 2 years later. Why not cash in? It's the argument that it's the future of golf, or that it's supplanting some way PG. Is it impacting? Of course it's impacting. And the reason I love its existence is because competition pushes innovation. And innovation might mean music on the golf course or shorts, or it just might mean the PGA Tour going, hey, we've had a good ride and we've got to shake things up. Maybe we do need business partners. This PIF deal is not done. And as you pointed out, the deadline's looming. Tiger Woods doesn't want to have to work on his birthday, but he's probably going to have to, because they're not going to close a deal that big this quick. So there is a clause in there that they can extend it if they agree that they're making progress. But LIV is poaching players. The PGA Tour is going on dates with private equity and, other kind of, sports entertainment firms. So not all is gravy. And I think that handshake agreement that Jimmy Dunn made with, Yasser and the boys, there's no indication one way or another. But then again, we didn't see the first handshake coming. So, they could come out tomorrow and say, we've reached an agreement. Details will be, released after the first of the year, but the ink is drying as we speak. It's like, what? But all indications from like Tiger, some of the other guys on the inside, the way that Tiger put it, that we're around the clock right now, I'm not going to even say he's hyperbolic, because it's Tiger fucking Woods. He obviously is elite at no matter what he's doing, and he knows golf. He knows the game. I think it was a brilliant move for the PGA Tour to just create this seat on the board for him, the Tiger seat. And if you're not familiar with how that kind of went down, it was essentially the board of directors for the PGA Tour, for lack of a better phrase. I think it's the managing board or whatever they call it. It's half, like a normal board of directors, business titans, et cetera. And then they got player directors. Well, there's 5. Now there's 6. That 6th seat, they just created out of thin air for Tiger, so he could come in and kind of take over this mantle. He's been the trump card the whole time. You can't buy Tiger when he's already got $1 billion in the bank after his first divorce. And so, that they've said it from the beginning. Rory's and John Rahm even said it. 400 million is not going to change my life. He's right. It's not. But 400 million is going to change your grandkids and their kids and their kids. Beyonce said it. My great grandbaby's already rich, and I would do it too. And I'm not going to speak for you, but you would do it too with 5 kids. And here's $500 million to play golf somewhere else. And we're going to miss you at the Memorial. No more milkshakes for you, but you still got the majors in your back pocket. Brooksy proved that you can pretty much qualify for a Ryder Cup just by showing up to the majors and kicking ass. And so Rory had a point when he was yelling at some chucklehead at one of their meetings when he says, play better. That's the answer. We're talking about the most minuscule amount of pro golfers that get this focus. There's 30 guys that we talk about most of the time. There are thousands of players who have the game to actually go out there and maybe compete, money game, take, a couple bills off these guys on the weekend. But to be one of the top 20 in the world at really anything is so unique that I think golf might be the only sport where, 5 of these guys can piece out, and we know that there's another John Rahm. There's not another Tiger Woods. That's a generational. Yeah. Bobby Jones, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. They're very light with those kind of titles. But are we seeing another, Steve Kerr, who was an excellent 3-point shooter in the 90s and, led his team to didn't lead, but he was on a couple of those championship teams. Sure. Jordan Spieth is, he's got to win more to be there. But I mean, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, and then we got Gordon Sargent, this kid coming out of Vanderbilt who qualified for the PGA Tour through the new PGA Tour U program. So LIV has money, and money is definitely driving our eyeballs. But in the world of golf, it's not driving ratings. CW is not blowing up the networks, and their streaming numbers weren't big on YouTube for LIV. So I still go back to, it's entertaining if you just take it for what it's worth. Exhibition golf with shorts. And Paulina Gretzky, she bumped into us.
I asked myself, what would a deal look like? Like, let's say the PIF and PGA do come to terms. And I heard Bubba Watson on the Foreplay podcast, and he talked about, he's a LIV guy. He would love just to be able to play in regular tournaments on the PGA Tour. And some people are like, well, nah, you can't play it both ways. Like, you made your bed, you got to lay in it, so to speak. But for me, I'm like, well, that's kind of my selfish speaking is it's all I want are the best golfers playing on a regular basis. That's really all I want to see. I really don't care if they're LIV or they're PGA. I want to see the best golfers playing as much as possible. And so, in your opinion, what do you think a deal would even look like?
Status quo at best. I really don't. But they have so much money sunk into LIV and these players now. I could also see them sunsetting LIV if the connection is strong. So the idea behind this deal in the first place was really a lot of it was going to stay the same. PGA Tour is going to remain the PGA Tour. LIV is going to do LIV, but then the private investment fund or public investment firm, fund, and the PGA Tour were going to create this for-profit entity that was going to be almost like a revenue generator for the PGA Tour, the way that the PIF, not generator, like life support, and then eventually, treasure trove, the way that the PIF has been for LIV. So that's been kind of the idea. The coexistence, I love it when the players are, Rory's like, I would die before I played on LIV. And other guys are like, this is great. I can travel the world and I get paid a shit ton of money. They might coexist. Who knows? I mean, it could very easily, their schedules are already such that LIV did the smart thing by saying, we're not going to go head to head against a major. And to your point earlier, really, I don't even care if the best golfers are playing week in and week out. I want the best golfers at the 5 majors. I call the Players Championship a major. And so I do think that maybe they should send 5 LIV guys over as part of the agreement. That would be fun. How fun would that be? Top 5 get exempt into the Players.
There you go.
That's part of the negotiation. No, but yeah. I want to see them at the majors and the Ryder Cup. And with John Rahm going and Rory's comments, Ryder Cup Europe is going to figure that out. They're going to say that, they put Brooksy on the team. Nobody from Europe, I think, really warranted that kind of nod. But next time around, you don't have Ryder Cup without John Rahm. So I think a deal would just basically look like the status quo with more money and, and smarter marketing and scheduling for LIV. Because I think that's the other part where LIV doesn't have a TV contract really to speak of. I mean, I don't see the CW really taking hold with the golf crowd. Then again, I could just be ignorant. But I could see them, that's the only other sticking point is maybe, hey, can you help us out there? Will Golf Channel start maybe covering some of our stuff? Because it is world-class golfers, playing the game at the highest level against one another. There's those like macro level questions about the systems and what is good for golf and, what's more of an opportunity. I mean, LIV is a closed shop. We're talking 60 guys and you get maybe a heartbeat to get in or out. And the only other way is to do really well over at the main competitor, and then they'll poach you. This is just like business anywhere else. But the PGA Tour is not going anywhere. And I don't think, unless all hell breaks loose, deal falls apart and every other private equity or anybody else who tried to get involved, but like the Fenway Group is already tipping their hand here in Boston, with their participation in TGL. And they're saying, hey, we've had a couple of conversations there too about maybe getting an investment, a piece in this new pie. So a deal is probably going to look a lot like the status quo with just some third entity that is now kind of seen as the real puppet master of golf. And that's going to be this for-profit, whoever controls that group.
I think if the PGA Tour is smart, and whether they deal with the PIF, whatever, the team aspect is something that I wish that they would go down like this time of year. Think about the PNC coming up. Like there's so much stinking hype about this. And I know it's because Tiger plays and his son's playing, but it's the fact that it's a unique environment. You have these parents, like the father-son, father-daughter, in terms of, you know, when you think about the Strickers and Annika Sorenstam with her little son, like it's just fun. It's a great, it's different. I love that it's different. I think that when Tiger and Phil started the match, that this would be kind of what would start this different new, like I always scream from the rooftops, what happened to the Skins game? I used to grow up love watching the Skins game.
The best part about Thanksgiving.
Yeah, why did the Skins game go away? Well, what happened? Well, why did we stop doing these when the Ryder Cup's over? And if it's a Ryder Cup year or the President's Cup, that's fine. This is when I think the PGA would be really smart to, hey, if you want to take a page out of LIV, say, let's try some team stuff. And it doesn't have to be you have your team and we're going to have trades. Hey, Jordan Spieth, you get to pick your team. Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, have these captains. Play a freaking scramble. I don't care. I think it would be a blast. It would be hysterical to watch these guys play. They're going to put up ridiculous numbers. I think it would be great. And the Netflix Cup, I only saw highlights. It just didn't seem like it was normal, but it was odd to say the least. I think there's an opportunity. I think there's an opportunity for the PGA to think outside the box, see what LIV's doing, and say, maybe we could try something that could be enticing to golf fans outside of the regular season stuff that they do.
I 100% agree. Now, the PGA Tour does spice it up a little bit with things like down in Zurich, the New Orleans event, that is a team event. That is a partner event that they do. This new Grant Thornton Invitational this last year with the LPGA PGA Tour, I think you're going to see that.
That was a great event.
But to balance it all out, I had a musing way back when this merger, non-merger, whatever the hell we want to call it, was announced that LIV is going to become, I said kind of the same thing. You really want to get my attention. You want me to buy in, then incorporate LIV into the fall swing where you're going to take those first 48 players who did not make the FedEx Cup playoffs. Boom. You all are the LIV fall event series. We're going to, we're not drafting. Jordan Spieth doesn't want to play any more tournaments. He doesn't want to play in the fall. That's the point. They do want to hang it up for 90 days, play the PNC, family championship with, by the way, Nelly Korda. I think she's playing with her dad, Peter Korda, Peter Korda's back in the field. Australian Open. Australian Open champ though himself. That's a family right there. Jessica Korda, Nella Korda. Their brother is also a professional tennis player. And then their dad, Peter Korda, won the Australian Open back in the late 90s. All four of them have won the Australian Open in their respective sports. Fun fact. But I was saying, take this LIV series, make it the fall, make that your new Q school. All right. You got 12 teams. 2 of you are going to make it back to the PGA Tour next year. And so we do have structures here. I agree with you. We definitely have structures here to get creative. What's going to happen, and it's already been happening, and it's already happening again in 24, is this kind of tightening of the schedule where we got our 4 majors, and then we got one big splash a month to make, or 5 majors, including the players, and then one big splash a month to make sure. And that's what we got. We got January. They're going to come back and they've got their Century Tournament of Champions. February is the Waste Management. March is the Players. April is Augusta. May is the PGA. Then it just goes on and on. And you got the US Open into the FedEx Cup playoffs. That's it. And that's where those players are like, that's all they want to do. They want the Tiger model. I want to play 11 starts a year, have a chance to cash those in because I've already got. And that's fine. I'm actually okay with that because they're even limiting those fields to 70 no cut. Nobody seems to be losing their mind over that after all the LIV Golf is 54 holes. Well, 54 holes, I have a beef with that. 36 holes, or sorry, 36 and 72, that's been kind of the golden rule forever. But the whole no cut thing, these are the concessions you're going to have to make because they are creating more opportunities. Corn Ferry Tour is blowing up. The PGA Tour U Series is kind of helpful. LIV doing what they're doing is providing a landing ground for some of these hot studs for a couple of years. And if I don't have status on the PGA Tour, then they can't really suspend me anyway. So I'll go try my hand at LIV, bag a couple million and then come back. They could get creative, and I think you're going to see more of that in this fall series. But the thing about the match, YouTube golf, that's been a great conversation. Is YouTube golf the future of golf? These kind of like pro versus four, foreplay does their scrambles where a pro will take on all 4 of them, or even, some of these guys from like Good or Garrett McCormick, they're even doing it now where, amateurs will go out there and people will bet on anything, will watch anything. And that's becoming more, I think it's becoming more viewed because it's even more accessible than watching somebody else play your same sport, but do it way better than you because you're watching people just like you. So YouTube's been a godsend for the game of golf, and maybe the future is there, but for professional golf, for elite golf, we're talking about 9 tournaments a year. And then the rest is window dressing, but there's going to be so much freaking money to go around that these guys are going to have to play in a couple John Deere Classics or the Memorial, like Tigers tournament, Arnie's tournament, the Memorial. They're all going to remain favorites in the hearts of these guys, but it's just going to be, fewer opportunities for just Joe Shit the Ragman to stumble into a Memorial or a Genesis, and they're going to have to just fend it out more on these Corn Ferry Tour type events. I think you're going to see much more of the middle portion of pro golf kind of grow, because the more this money seems not going to divvy out to more players, it's going to just get eaten up by the elite 20 to 30 guys at the top, as it always has been.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I don't know if you ever listened to the podcast, and if you haven't, I'm not offended, but I always do, when I do a 2-man scramble, I do a rapid fire segment at the very end. And so I just ask you questions. If you want to elaborate a little bit, go for it. If not, that's fine. It's a series of questions, all typically about the game of golf. Are you ready for this?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's start off with a simple one. If you had a choice, ride or walk, how are you playing?
Walk.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Pure. I'm a purist.
So, this is a two-parter for you after your bio that I read. So music on the course, yay or nay?
Yay.
What's your walk-up song, since you said you should have one on the first and the 10th tee?
First and 18th. And
18th, I'm sorry.
My theory on that, first hole walk-up song, Honeysuckle Blue by Driving and Crying, one of my favorite songs of all time, Southern rock band. I went to the University of Georgia, and not being a Georgia boy myself with Michigan parents, it was crammed down my throat. I do believe that you should have a walk-up song on the 18th, but that gets played for your playing partner, not for you.
Does you have that song what's that song?
The song, my song?
Well, no, so you're playing it for your playing partner.
Oh, if I'm going to play for,
you trying to distract? Are you going to play like
Zippity Doodah? Although that's
No.
racist, you can't play that anymore. But something light, maybe Bubbly Toes, Colby Calais, something like that. I'm not giving them Crazy Train or Iron Maiden or anything.
No, but you could go in so many different directions.
Yeah, I want a curveball.
There you go. I love it. All right, next one. Do you have to choose spring or fall golf? Which one are you choosing?
Spring. More daylight, fresher air.
What's your favorite team format in the game?
Best ball. Just straight up 4-ball where it's you and your partner. I'm not a huge fan of scramble because I'm a control freak a little bit, and I'm selfish. I don't want to rely on other people. Bramble is a good middle ground where you get the scramble tee shot and then everybody plays out from there. But best ball, I just recently played my first USGA 4-ball qualifier with a buddy of mine. We had a blast. We missed the cut by like 6 strokes. But just the differences in how you strategize when you're out there and you have a partner. You mentioned it earlier. Team golf brings that aspect into my decision, and my performance means more than just me. I can shrug off my mistakes. I don't know if I can let my buddy down.
That's why it's called F Your Partner. Anyways, let's go to what's in the bag. What are you swinging today?
All right, we'll start at the top. A Callaway XR driver. I'm a Callaway enthusiast when it comes to woods drivers. There's something visually. I've dated a TaylorMade. I've dated a Titleist. I always come back to Callaway because something visually about that kind of teardrop look with the little arrow. So I also have a Callaway XR 3 wood and a Callaway XR 3 hybrid, 4 through a gap wedge to TaylorMade P790s, and 2 Vokey wedges, a 56 and a 60, and then a Scotty Cameron Newport from 1997 that my wife got refinished for me as a gift a couple of years ago.
Oh, nice. Fantastic. That's a nice bag. Next question. Will Tiger ever win again?
Yes.
No?
1,000,000%. If there's ever been a golf course that is made for old winners, it's Augusta National. Jack Nicklaus flirted with a 6th or 7th green jacket when he was in his 50s. Tiger's, he won like 3 years ago, and that place, if anywhere else, horses for courses, saddle up partner. He's going to win once, if not twice again.
I do often wonder, though, because my favorite golfer growing up was Freddie Couples, because it was my dad's favorite golfer. And Freddie always plays well at Augusta. And it's always been the same thing. He's in the contention on Sunday, and it's just falls apart. And he turns into that great playing partner that's chatting it up as they're going down the fairway, as he's completely collapsing, folding like a cheap lawn chair. And it's like, gosh darn it. If it's only 3 rounds, he'd win it.
Exactly. 2 Freddie things. Augusta A is way hillier than anybody could ever imagine from the television coverage. That walking, that place beats you up. And B, when I was 9 years old, I went to a pro-am at Thornblade Country Club in Greer, South Carolina, and Freddie Couples was playing. And my buddy that I was walking with named Justin Hill had a hat on. I can't remember the team. It might have been the Minnesota Twins, but Freddie Couples was walking up to the tee. He saw my buddy's hat, pulled us inside the ropes, and we got to walk the fairway with Freddie Couples. True story.
That's awesome. That's freaking awesome. All right, let's go to a golf movie. What is your favorite golf movie?
Legend of Bagger Vance.
Really?
Tin Cup is 1A, but Legend of Bagger Vance, to me, there's a whole story behind it. I don't know. The greatest game ever played is the best golf story in real life, in my opinion. Francis, we met in the whole local stuff here, but I cringed when you asked that, because if Tin Cup was on right now, I'd probably just drop the microphone and walk over to the TV and just sit there and stare at it. I had a crush on Rene Russo. I had a crush on Kevin Costner. Still do. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
I mean, Commissioner Dutton. Governor Dutton.
Yep, exactly.
Spoilers. But I got to give it to the Legend of Bagger Vance.
It's really, so Caddyshack doesn't even register?
Not for best golf movies. I think it's freaking hilarious, but I don't necessarily consider it a golf movie because it's a comedy before it's a golf movie. It's a comedy before it's a sports movie. You could have had that at a tennis club, a summer camp, and those movies have been made. But for golf movies, Tin Cup or Bagger Vance followed closely by Tin Cup.
Okay, I think I know the answer to this, but I'll ask it anyways. What's your favorite major?
The U.S. Open.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So first person I've had on the podcast that said that. Everyone said the Masters up until now.
The Masters is the most beautiful major because it was the first kind of created of this. Hey, let's do something that we think is pure and excellent, and then they've slowly had to kind of let the world in on it. The U.S. Open to me has a past that is gritty. It's open. It hasn't always been as open. Yes, I know back in the day you had to be a member of a private club, yada, yada, yada. Don't at me, bro. But the way it stands now, in theory, with my handicap index, I could go out there and try to qualify for the U.S. Open. And if I catch lightning in a bottle, which slow down, folks, I know I'm not going there, but the theory, the accessibility to it, the kind of everyman nature, and that it's ours. The Open Championship, I think, is wonderful. The PGA, I don't have much room for it, but then again, I'm not a professional golfer, and I understand its place in the game. But the U.S. Open to me is, if I could take home anything, any of those four, it'd be that.
There you go. I love it. You have any superstitions on the golf course?
No, I've gone through phases of different routines. I think the only thing I would call a superstition is I always have to have a swing thought, and it can change no matter what. So for this summer, this entire year, it's going to sound so arrogant. I would tell myself tiger tempo. Because as I've gotten older, I just turned 41, but after I turned 40, I realized my swing doesn't treat my body as well as it used to. And I was trying to figure out, and I was going really fast on my transition, trying to create torque. And I'm like, buddy, you're not creating torque anymore with that body. You just need tempo. Because I was watching Tiger, and as big as he is, if you watch him swing now, hits the ball a mile still. He doesn't swing hard. It's just timed so perfectly. And so trying to think of myself tiger tempo, like just try to picture what he's doing and try to replicate that. Everything else is, just works itself out. No, but tiger tempo, I think that would be my one kind of, I'm gonna say it one more time for the kids in the back. Tiger tempo.
All right, we have a couple more here. What's your thoughts on golf fashion? Because I really think this is hysterical when I look at some of these Instagram companies that are out there. I'm like, are people buying these shirts? I mean, people are wearing like capris, and I cannot stand the jogger thing, but that's just me. What's your thoughts on golf fashion?
I'm here for it in a couple of different ways. First of all, golf gear in general, I think is fun. There's been great t-shirts out there, but like, as far as like what's acceptable on the course or what people are wearing on the course, I mean, I'm wearing something right now from Acorn Hills that is one of those like hoodie type shirts, right? Yeah. Hoodies on the golf course, are all of a sudden a thing. I agree with you. Joggers, again, 41-year-old man, don't have the body for joggers, but I kind of dig it. I don't think there's anything wrong with clubs or even courses saying this is the environment that we'd like to create. These are the clothes that we'd like you to wear. I do think that if you're a muni, sorry, it's the people's course, bug off. I'm going to wear my jeans. But I think it's phenomenal, and I think it's fun. And I think that people find the humor in it. Like you talk about Macklemore in his line, like Bogey Boys or whatever it's called. It's dope. I think come one, come all. The more we can let your freak flag fly, the less stiff this game becomes and the more beautiful it gets.
There you go. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Let's go. What do you think is the worst rule in golf?
Ooh. Oh God. You know what? I went off on a freaking rant about this the other day. I don't know if I wouldn't call this a rule, but the fact that they can assess penalties to guys the next day after competition is ended, when when you or I call in and say, excuse me, Mr. PGA Tour official, I noticed on the replay that he marked his ball, but then he didn't unmark it. Nobody called him on it. If that happens during play, first of all penalties should have to be called on the field of play. Let's just stop the armchair referees. I'm not going to say get a life, because, hey, good for you, Eagle Eye. But if your playing partner doesn't catch it, if one of the referees on the actual course, because they got referees on with each one of these groups, if they don't catch it, then it's a missed call, just like any other sport. They're not coming out of halftime in an NBA game going, hey, Mr. Harden, we counted up the number of travels you had in the first half, so your team is actually going to be deducted 9 points. Shit doesn't happen. I don't know why we let it in golf, because the most recent example was Colin Morikawa gets told at the Hero World Challenge on Sunday on the driving range, hey, buddy, sorry, 2-stroke penalty because Matt Fitzpatrick called us last night. And apparently you looked at your green reading book on the 4th green, and we noticed that information came from your caddy who got it. And I'm thinking to myself, Fitzy, go to bed. Why did you pick up the phone? If you leave the property without calling the penalty, all bets are off, on to the next day. So the rules are such in flux. I'll tell you, my favorite new rule is the fact that you can leave the pin in. I love it for judging long putts, although you could always have it tended, but I just also think it speeds up the game. I don't know if I have a rule that drives me nuts, because there's so freaking many of them.
Yeah.
You know what it is? The new dropping from your knee thing. Like, let's just go back to dropping it blindly over their back shoulder. That's my thing.
There you go. And last one, what's your biggest pet peeve on the golf course? There could be a lot of them.
Oh God, I've tried to become not a curmudgeon. I was going to say golf cliches, but now that I'm a dad, I kind of encourage and enjoy it. Yeah, slow play. I'm going to go with slow play. Biggest pet peeve is slow play. Golf, it says right there on the golf cart, on your scorecard, let faster players play through. Slow play. So I think poor etiquette is my biggest pet peeve. And when it's personified in slow play, I'm ready to kill someone.
I love it. All right. This has been great. Great conversation. Definitely going to have you back on to talk more golf. But in the meantime, tell everyone where they can find you on Instagram and anywhere else that you want to plug.
For right now, we're talking about Instagram at thisbuds4u, FORE. Again, don't want to get sued. Also, I'm a golf guy. And pretty soon, This Buds for You will be back on Spotify and Apple Podcasts with season 2 starting in January.
That's fantastic, man. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, brother. Yes, sir. Thank you.
No problem. See ya.